Hello, welcome to Malt, the non-chill filtered whisky blog. I'm Andy and this is whisky review number 53. What I have for you today is a single malt Scotch whisky from the island of Orkney in north of Scotland. It comes in the form of this, the Highland Park 12-year-old from the Highland Park distillery, shockingly enough. Now, pretty iconic bottle there. You probably have recognised it. You can find it pretty readily available, to be fair. Tesco's, Asda's, you name it, you can find it. Highland Park, ooh, nice noise. As I mentioned, is located on the island of Orkney. Okay, and that is the northeast of Scotland. Alright. Founded in 1798. It is a distillery owned by the Edrington Group, who also own distilleries such as Glenturret and Macallan. Now, I'll just show you the bottle just in case you didn't see it. There it is. Lovely jubbly. The 12-year-old is Highland Park's entry-level bottling. It is the sort of first one in their range, really. There is no age statement, dark origins, but that is, in terms of the 12, it is actually higher in price. The distillery itself has a capacity of around 2.5 million litres of spirit a year. They are one of the few distilleries in Scotland still to have their own floor maltings, and I mentioned that in the Springbank review a couple of weeks back, because Springbank are one of the other distilleries that has it, as well as Lefroy, Kilhoman. I'm not going to bore you with the rest of them. You get the idea, there's not many that do it anyway. Now, Highland Park, it's an interesting spirit in itself. It's not quite a Highland, it's not quite Speyside. This in terms of flavour. It's not quite an Islay, and it's certainly not a Lowlander, that's for sure. So it's a bit of a melting pot of all these different styles. It's bottled at 40%. It is chill filtered and it does have added colour. It retails for around 30 quid. Now, in terms of colour, as we say, there is added colour, so it's, you know, that same old phrase that I keep using, it's lies. But, you know, let's have a look at that. Yeah, that's your pretty standard whisky colour, alright. Let's see, what can we call that one today? What can we call this? Rusting Toyota. Right, some nice-ish legs on the glass. They are running quite quickly. Onto the nose. Quite musty. There's some heather in there, there's some honey in there, there's toffee, and there's a little bit of coffee as well. It's quite what I describe as, it smells thick. It's another one of those whiskies that's actually got texture on the nose. It's quite chunky. Chocolate. Again, the heather. There's sort of a herbal quality to it as well. Maybe even dry tea leaves, like a loose leaf tea. It's quite interesting. There's a fair bit going on. It's not overly complex, I wouldn't say. It's just what I'd describe as satisfying. It's just nice. It's quite warming. It's quite homely. It makes me feel quite relaxed, which all sounds stupid, but it just makes me feel good inside. It's not overly complicated, as I say, it's not amazingly complex, but what is in there is very pleasant and goes very well together. What I'd say is that there's a bit of marmalade in there as well, a bit of orange zest, maybe even something even more citric than an orange, potentially a little bit of lemon in there. No, it's orange. It is orange. Terry's chocolate orange. There's the chocolate, there's the orange. Terry's chocolate orange. You'd never have guessed from the name, would you? Right. It's a bit of an interesting story to Highland Park, apart from the fact it's got its own floor maltings and it's only one of 2 distilleries on Orkney, the other being Scapa. Whilst it opened in 1798, while it was founded, there was actually a chap on Orkney, on the same site, in Kirkwall, actually already distilling illicit, aka illegal, whisky. So back in 1798, a chap called Magnus Jönsson, I think that's how you pronounce it, sorry if it's not, actually distilled whisky. He was making a bit of money on the side, he loved to drink, he loved spreading the love, and at the time the government were basically cracking down on not only illegal whisky stills and things like that, but also basically illegal smuggling of spirits, alcohol, tea, you name it. So they had what were called excisemen, and excisemen would basically patrol around and basically see, whoa, what's he doing? I'm going to report him, right, come on, let's get a mob together, let's go and ruin his day and get him arrested and whatnot. So what he actually did was quite ingenious, really. He hid all of his illicit spirit under the pulpit in Kirkwall Church, which, to be fair, is ingenious. Who's going to think it's under the pulpit in the church? No one. So kudos to you, Magnus. You know, good on you. Good effort. The cat's here now, so I'm really sorry in advance. If you've watched the Dalmore review, you'll know he's a bit of a pain. So I won't expect anything less. Hello. He's just getting in on it. He likes a bit of attention and that. So anyway, back to the whisky. As I say, it's 40%, and that nose, it does have a nice richness to it, which would indicate something of potentially higher percent. Only talking 43, 46, but it had that sort of depth to it, and that nice clunkiness. So let's move on to the palate. One more whiff on the nose. There is a little bit of a sea breezy thing there, but mouthfeel's actually quite thick, quite nice, coating the nose, coating me tongue, sorry, not my nose. We've got more chocolate, really nice milky chocolate. We've got that honey again, we've got that marmalade again, we've got toast, we've got kind of butteriness to it as well, like a salty butter. There's also kind of a floral element to it as well. Something that's actually something quite light at the same time, cutting through those other heavy flavours. Predominantly though, it is a really nice rich honey. I'm not going to say heather honey because I think that's a bit of a cliche in whisky reviews, to be honest with you. And if I'm being honest, I've had heather honey, I've had, hello sunshine, I've had orange blossom honey from Spain, I've had honey up to the nines, and at the end of the day, it's honey. It's bee spit. Yes, I know, it's daft, isn't it? All these different types of honey, mate. He only eats whiskers. He wouldn't know. Sorry about that. And he's gone. There is that little bit of coffee sort of flavour on the palate as well. Demerara sugar. Creme brulee. And again with the chocolate, there's a hell of a lot of chocolate on the palate of this, you know. It's quite interesting because there's not many whiskies at 40% that actually give you that sort of like coating flavour, coating texture. It's not as thick as a lot of drams that I've had, but it is leaving this sort of film over my tongue, which is quite nice, quite pleasant. A little bit more about the distillery. I'm going to bore you a little bit. Whilst I said that they've got their own floor maltings, they do still buy some barley in from a third party, because A, they don't have the capacity to produce enough malt for themselves, and B, they actually, for 18 hours, to dry the barley out, for 18 hours they actually use peat, and then for the final 18 hours of the 36-hour cycle they use coke, or sort of like, coke is in coal, nothing bad. So yeah, it's, they've got their own floor maltings, which is good. They do start to buy some in, and they do use different types of bits and pieces to dry it out. Now, the peat that they use is local, from the moors on Isla, from the moors on Orkney. Sorry, oh God. So I'm so sorry, people of Orkney. And funnily enough, Orkney peat actually has different characteristics to Isla peat. It's not quite as medicinal. It's a bit sweeter. It's sort of a bit warmer and softer, and I think that comes out in the whisky. There's not, Isla peat is quite, as I say, medicinal. You've got iodine in there, you've got a bit of sea saltiness and sea air and seaweed and everything by the sea, basically, in there. But you don't have that with the peat that's actually used to, contribute towards Highland Park. And I think I would sort of say so far, it's quite a velvety dram. It's smooth, it's very easy drinking, it's very quaffable. The finish was quite short, I'll be honest, but again, you're sort of leaning into that sort of honey flavour. You've got a little bit of brandy snap biscuits in there as well. So one more round. Got a bit of creaminess in there. There is a soft smoke. Now, I didn't mention that before because I think it's taken a little bit of time to open up in the glass. But there is smoke in there, but it's not an Isla smoke. Right? Just to get, if you don't like coal Islers, or Bowmore or Ardbeg, if they aren't your cup of tea, then don't worry, because this is not what that is like. Sort of akin to a lot of Highland whiskies. It just adds a little bit of depth to it. And yeah, sure, you can taste a bit of smoke in there, right in the middle. And there is a little bit on the nose now. It's not overpowering. It's just adding a nice kind of waft to it. And it doesn't taste like... It doesn't leave that kind of sort of medicinal, smoky flavour that an Ardbeg 10 would leave. It's just playing alongside that honey and that sweetness, and it works really well. So with that in mind, I think I'm going to give this a score of 85 out of 100. It's a very solid dram. It's very well priced. Don't get me wrong, yes, it's chill filtered, which isn't great. It is got, it is coloured. There is colouring in there, but you're at the £30 price point. It is marketed at quite a substantial spectrum, should we say, of the whisky drinking market. As I say, you will find it in supermarkets, so it is geared up to cater for, I'd say, everybody really. People who don't buy much whisky or don't really look into it that much and just enjoy a dram every so often. They're not going to be bothered about chill filtration or colouring. And at the end of the day, it's the market norm, isn't it? And we've discussed that before, which is a shame, but what can you do? Probably boycott it, but there's too many out there, isn't there, to do that with. So, 85 out of 100, I think it's well deserved. It's one of those whiskies that I think, you can pick it up on offer, and it's worth having sort of on the shelf as often as you can. I actually picked this up in Tesco for £23 recently, which is a great price for this malt. I'll be honest with you, it's a fantastic price, well worth that. In fact, I wouldn't begrudge it at 30 quid, to be fair, but you can find it about 25, generally speaking, quite a lot of places. So on that note, thank you very much for watching. See you soon.